Hey there. All right. Opening day has come and gone, and opening day for real estate market has come at last as well. There are a lot of new houses hitting the market right now, and just want to make sure everything is going okay. It just seems like everything is going so smoothly, and I'm a minute or two early. So, like I said, just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that the real estate market is kicking up in high gear. We're seeing more and more houses hitting the market. Um, on average, it's taken about 3 weeks for a house to go from market to under contract, and then typically a month after that. But keep in mind, that's an average, and that's not like what you can expect every house. The good houses are going in 2 to 3 days, and the houses, I don't want to say the bad houses, but the houses that aren't as popular are going in, sometimes a month or two. So the average of that is like 3 weeks ish. What I want to talk to you guys about tonight is when you are a buyer, you're buying a house, whether it's your first house or second house or third house, what are the things you need to do to get your offer accepted? Okay. Keep in mind, there's 4 types of financing. There's USDA financing for rural. There's VA financing for our veterans and active military that Allison was just talking about last night. There's FHA financing, which is government insured financing. It's not government financing, but it's government insured financing. And it is typically the new home buyer financing, but obviously it doesn't have to be. And then there's conventional financing. The conventional financing is the only one of these that's not government insured, and it's regarded as one of the best because it's one of the hardest financing to get. So if you're going to put an offer in and you can swing it to make it conventional, that tells the seller you're a serious buyer, and there's probably going to be very few things wrong with the transaction, very few things that are hurdles, extra things to get through. Again, I don't want to get a bunch of emails or people calling me and say I'm poo-pooing VA. I'm not poo-pooing VA at all. We're doing those deals every day, but I can honestly tell you that it is harder to get those done than the conventional deals. All right. Next, when you are buying a house, make sure your agent, this guy, if it's me, you don't have to worry about it, but make sure your agent is asking the sellers what they want. There might be something tiny that they want. They might want to rent back for a few days. They might want to move out without stress. If you can afford them this option of a free rent back, I would give them a free rent back. The most you can give them a free rent back for is 59 days. I honestly wouldn't even recommend doing that. I think 2 weeks to 3 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks at the top. It's not really going to cost you much out of pocket. It is going to delay you moving into the house, but it's a good way to win the bid. Next, waiving some inspections. I'm never going to tell you to waive your inspections, but it is a strategy that people are using, and it does help win bids. We just had one where somebody was bidding on our property. They were going to do this inspection and that inspection and blah, blah, blah. And they wanted some closing cost help as well. That was like the kiss of death right there. Don't ask for closing cost help, but they were asking for it. They needed it. It was a house that wasn't in perfect shape, and they decided to waive inspections. We snatched that up, and that's the one that got accepted. You can also do inspections for informational purposes only. There's creative ways that you can write that up so that you're still doing the inspections, and you have the right to pull out, maybe as is with inspections, or I'm only going to ask for repair if there's a certain amount of money that needs to be spent, like any single repair is over $1,000 or something like that. But you always have the right to pull out. So that's nice. Using the seller's preferred title company. Again, this is not something that I really recommend doing, but I'm just giving you all of the tips that are out there. If you use the seller's preferred title company, it can make actually the transition a little bit easier, especially for them, because one title company might be handling both deals, and it can just help things go smoother. And it gives their agent, it strokes their ego a little bit and gives them an added sense of comfort as well. Escalation clauses. So you guys know what an escalator is. Well, some escalators go down, I guess, but this one doesn't. So the escalation clause means that I'm going to beat somebody else's bid by a certain amount. So if I bid this and they bid this, then I'm always going to beat that bid by a certain amount. It can be 1,000, it can be 2,000, it could be 5,000, but I'm always going to beat them out up to a certain ceiling. And then if they go beyond that, God bless them, they can have it. So for example, if you bid $300,000, but you said, I'm going to escalate up to $315,000, then if somebody comes in and bids 305, you're going to beat 305 by whatever you said you would beat it by. I typically recommend you make the escalation clause at least $2,000 increments. $1,000 difference from far away might not look like much of a difference at all. That was really poor. But what I was trying to say is, from far away, you can't really tell the difference between two different things. The buyer can actually pay their own agent's commission. If the buyer pays their own agent's commission, the seller would not be paying the buyer's agent commission. Obviously, this is only something that somebody's going to do if they have the money to make it happen. Increase your down payment, increase your deposit that is being held. I kind of use those terms interchangeably, which is wrong. They're not interchangeable. It's increasing the deposit. That's the right D word that I'm looking for. The deposit is the amount of money that is being held by the brokerage in escrow to make sure that the deal goes through. It is also money that is held up, and in the event the deal does not go through, the buyer does not automatically get it back. Usually, yes, but if it's, it's not automatic by any means. So by raising that, it tells me you're more serious. Typically, you're looking at 1%. If you're buying a $300,000 house, you're putting $3,000 down. But if you wanted to be super serious about it and show the sellers that you're super serious, you put $10,000 down. You're like, hey, I want this house. I'm willing to commit to it. You're probably going to be putting, if you're putting 10% down, you're going to be putting 30 grand down anyway. So this is just putting 10 grand down early. You want to make sure you have a pretty high level of confidence in the house, and then it's not going to be just terrible and falling around behind your ears and stuff like that. Next, make it non-contingent upon selling another property. If you're a first-time home buyer, I don't even need to explain this to you. You're not contingent upon anything. But if you already own a house, see if you can buy this house without the condition that your existing house has to sell first. A lot of people are making that stretch and making that work. In this market, it's not really much of a risk. We're going to sell your house 9 times out of 10. When I do this, you are not paying 2 payments at the same time. 1 time out of 10, it's usually somebody making 1 payment or something like that. And that's typically if they move pretty slow. Pre-inspections. So if you waive the inspection, okay, most of the inspectors that I work with right now, they're happy to do a walk and talk. What they will do is they'll walk with you. They'll show you things. They're not going to take things apart, though. It's not a real inspection because it's just you on a showing appointment. And you're going to get a much more intense professional opinion about the house than you will with your dumb old realtor. Shorten time frames for contingencies. So don't take 7 days to do an inspection when 4 will do. Don't take 3 days to do loan application when 1 will do. Don't take 35 days to get the loan approved when 25 will do. So just shorten those time periods. Sometimes those time periods can make the difference. Waive the appraisal contingency. Now, this is something you're going to have to talk to your lender about. Man, I am fighting back a yawn. It's so late. If you guys are still up, God bless you. Thank you for watching. Waive the appraisal contingency. You have to talk with your lender about that. But if you're putting enough money down and the house is definitely worth enough money, the lender might be able to waive the appraisal. If you have enough money set aside, for a down payment, you might be able to waive the appraisal contingency and say that you'll pay a certain amount over the appraisal amount, even if it underappraises. What is all this? Let's say that the house is $300,000. This isn't really true of $300,000 houses. So let's say if the house is $500,000. The house is $500,000 and you bid it up to $525,000. Problem is, if it's really worth $500,000, then it might not appraise for 525. The appraiser might be like, yeah, it's great that you want to pay 525, but I can't say that it's worth that to the bank. So let's say that they say that it's worth 510, and you say, I'll guarantee $5,000 over appraisal. So if it appraises for 510, you're guaranteeing five more on top of that. Then the final price would be 515. The seller would then take 515 if they took your offer. That's the appraisal contingency. Buyer paying the seller's closing cost expenses. You can pay anything. I mean, the reality is you just throw money out. You can pay me more. You can pay everybody more. But if you pay a little bit of the seller's closing costs, like maybe some of their taxes or this or that or the other, you can actually make your, in many cases, that is a better deal than waiving the appraisal contingency, because that's going to be guaranteed money, whereas the appraisal contingency is theoretical money until that comes through. Gap between the appraisal. So I just discussed that with the appraisal. Paying a predetermined amount above the appraisal. That's the same thing. And I want to hit this one again. Willingness to take conventional financing, even if one of the other financing is better. What I mean by that is sometimes with conventional financing, you might get a slightly higher rate than with FHA, and you'd be tempted then to go with FHA, which is considered a lesser financing vehicle. And I know I'm going to get shot for that as well, but it is. I'm just being honest. It's not that you can't get a house with FHA. We do those every day as well. But if an FHA and conventional are neck and neck, somebody's going to go with the conventional over the FHA if everything else is equal. So if you can go conventional, it might behoove you, especially, and this is only if you're in a competitive bidding situation. Increase your down payment. That is not your deposit, which I kept screwing up those words. This is how much money you're putting down on the loan itself. Having more money to put down and showing that you have more money to put down makes you a safer bet. You can also get approved. Let's get rid of the word pre. Okay, there's three types of words I want to go over here. Pre-qualified, which means you and I have a conversation on the phone. Yes, this is a phone. I don't even know where my phone is. Oh, look at that. There it is. You and I have a conversation on the phone, and based on that conversation and the trust that I have in you, I'm going to pre-qualify you for a certain amount. That's garbage, okay? What we want is a pre-approval. The pre-approval says, you've turned in documents to me. You handed in this stuff. I've reviewed it. And based on the reviews that I've done, and they can be digital documents, you may not be handing over actually anything. Based on the review that I've done, I have pre-approved you to buy a $400,000 house in Harford County with taxes up to $3,600 a year, blah, 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 blah. So it's based on cold, hard facts. Take that one step further. Some of our preferred lenders have this thing where they will go ahead and run you through underwriting and get you approved, which means that you are one step further along. Pre-qualified, pre-approved, approved. This means the only thing really left to go through underwriting is the house that you pick and the appraisal for it. But you are already approved. Great thing. You should definitely do it. As soon as you, that's why you should talk with your lender as soon as possible. And of course, an escalation clause with no cap, which is just crazy, but I've seen it done and it's hard to beat that. If I say I'm going to beat any other offer by $2,000 and there's no cap, that puts a lot of trust and faith in the other agent. Now, I'm going to flip the script a little bit. I wish I had more props and just flip things around, stuff like that. Let's just, let me see what I can get here. So flip the script. Here's my Golden Corral coupon thing that my loving oldest son gave me. And we're going to try to convince Jennifer to go there with me. And some of you guys are going, ew, yuck, right now, just like her. So here's some things not to do. I probably got a list like 2 miles long of dumb things to do, which are going to get your offer rejected. Put down a terrible deposit, like $1, no dollars, $500, stuff like that. Unless you're the only offer out there and that house is terrible and no one else is going to buy it, you're not going to win that. You've got to put some money down. You got to show the seller. I get agents argue this, inexperienced, dim-witted agents say, well, they don't have to put down any money, especially if it's like VA or something like that. I'm like, yeah, but you expect the seller to take their house off the market and wait 30 days for you to close. You got to have some skin in the game. So please put down a deposit. Okay. Don't pick 800 different inspections to do. Analyze the house very carefully, see which inspections you need to do, and just stick with the inspections that you need to do. There's a little secret clause that we put in there that says that we can do any inspections that the inspector recommends. My inspectors have actually helped me out with that before because they've seen things that I haven't seen, and it's a nice little escape clause in there as well. Other things not to put in there: long closing dates. Don't put in there a 45-day closing or a 60-day closing unless you absolutely need it and you've talked with the other agent beforehand. Okay. Let's see what else. Don't pick lenders that are from out of town, especially Virginia and DC, where they do dry closings and stuff on a regular basis. It's part of what they do. You want to choose a nice Maryland local lender, a good one that people know, and because the lender is going to play a huge role. Okay. Second to this guy, they're going to play the biggest role. Actually, they're going to play the biggest role, period, in whether or not you get that house. I'm going to play the biggest role in making sure you find the right house, but they're the ones who are really going to determine whether or not you end up moving into it or not. So let's make sure that we get a good lender, one that's going to see it to the finish line. Let's see. Drawing a blank here. Asking for lots of closing costs help. If you're doing FHA, you can ask for up to 6% in closing costs help. You should not need 6% in closing costs help. Your closing costs should not be that expensive. I once had a buyer's agent tell me that that's what they needed, and I looked at the stuff and I realized that the lender was just trying to get rich off of the seller. So we just turned them down. Typically, you're going to need about 4 to 4.5, maybe 5 at tops, depending. If it's a really cheap house, it might be 5% in closing costs help. So don't ask for more than you need, and maybe don't even ask for all that you need. Just try to get some grit in there and see what else you can get. Make it contingent upon a whole bunch of things. Third party, I got to sell a house, this or that or the other. Make sure your person, when you get the contract that you're signing and your agent sends it to you, make sure that it looks like it's in a coherent order and it's just not a hodgepodge of chaos with just things stuffed in there and everything. Agents like crisp, clean, filled out, signed. It shows us that the other agent knows what they're doing. It makes us want to work with them more. I said tons of inspections, no rent back. I mean, sellers would love to have a couple of days to move out, so don't cut them off on that. And let's see. Yeah, that's all I can really think of off of the top of my head. Just don't write anything weird in there. Don't have your lawyer cross out a bunch of things, stuff like that, because then we're not going to be able to take the contract. Trust me, these contracts have been reviewed by hundreds of highly paid lawyers and stuff that have been used through thousands and thousands of transactions. They're pretty solid. They're definitely not perfect, but we'll write them up for you, fill in the blanks, craft it for you and everything, go over with you all of your options, and then send it off. And then the agents, we're going to follow up with the seller's agent, and we're going to make sure that they know about your offer. We're going to make sure that they understand the value of your offer, that they can counter your offer, and we're going to put our best forward to make sure that you win that bid. Okay. So if you're a buyer stepping out in this market, please, please, please book an appointment with us now before it gets busy so we can plan and get you ready. Even if you were looking to buy in July, August, September, October, let's sit down and plan this out now. There's a few people that I was working with last year that just couldn't pull it together and they decided to wait until this year. let's get it together. Let's, make this happen. You're missing the boat. So I hope this helps you guys. And if you want any more specific tips, or you have something that you'd like me to review further, whatever, just reach out to me, email or phone call, and I'll be happy to help you. Hope you guys have a great weekend, April 6th and 7th, and I will see you back here Monday.